If countries can print money, why do they have debt? Every country on Earth has something that ordinary people do not. A machine that can legally create money. If a household tried to solve its debts by printing money at home, that would be called counterfeiting. But when a government does it through its central bank, it is called monetary policy. So at first glance, the solution to national debt seems almost obvious. If a country owes a large amount of money, why not simply create more of its own currency and pay everything back? No tax increases, no spending cuts, no painful reforms. Just create the money. In theory, the government could repay every bond tomorrow, which raises a question that many people eventually ask when they first start learning about finance. If printing money is possible, why do countries still struggle with debt? And more importantly, why can a country not simply print more money to pay off its national debt? At first glance, the idea seems perfectly logical. Governments issue bonds to borrow money from investors. When those bonds mature, the government must repay the principal. Normally, this repayment comes from taxes or new borrowing. But there is another path. The central bank could create new money and purchase government bonds directly or indirectly. In that case, the government is effectively paying its debt using newly created currency. Technically, the financial system allows this. But that is not the whole story. Because money does not have value simply because it exists. Money has value because people believe it will continue to hold purchasing power in the future. And the moment that belief starts to weaken, the system begins to react. To understand why, imagine a simple thought experiment. Suppose a country doubled the amount of money in its economy overnight. Every bank account now shows twice as much money as before. Salaries are paid in larger numbers. Government debt suddenly looks smaller compared to the total money supply. At first, this sounds like the country just became twice as rich. But nothing real has actually changed. The number of houses is the same. The amount of food produced is the same. The number of workers and factories is exactly the same. What has changed is the number of monetary claims chasing those goods and services. And when the supply of money rises much faster than the supply of real economic output, prices begin to adjust. Purchasing power falls. The currency buys less than it used to. This is the basic mechanism behind inflation. When a government begins to rely on newly created money to finance spending or repay debt, economists often describe that process with a very specific phrase. They call it monetizing the debt. Monetizing the debt means that government borrowing is effectively being funded by money created by the central bank rather than by real savings from investors. Instead of raising taxes or issuing bonds to the market, the government is transforming its debt into new money circulating in the economy. You will often hear this phrase in finance meetings when analysts discuss fiscal sustainability. For example, someone might say, if policymakers start monetizing the debt too aggressively, inflation expectations could begin to rise. In simple terms, the government is covering today's obligations by expanding the money supply. At first, this may seem manageable. The debt gets paid. The government continues operating. Markets appear calm. But financial markets are always looking forward. Investors immediately begin asking a different question. If the government is willing to create money to pay its debt today, what will stop it from doing the same thing tomorrow? And that is where the second phrase enters the discussion. Currency devaluation. Currency devaluation occurs when the value of a country's money falls relative to other currencies or relative to real goods and services. When investors suspect that excessive money creation may occur, they begin to adjust their expectations about the future value of that currency. Imagine you are an international investor deciding whether to hold bonds issued by a particular country. You know that the government will repay the bond when it matures, but you begin to worry about something else. Will the money you receive in repayment still buy the same amount of goods and services? If the answer might be no, you will demand higher interest rates as compensation, or you might decide to move your capital somewhere else entirely. In financial discussions, you may hear analysts explain it like this. If markets believe that fiscal deficits will be financed through money creation, the risk of currency devaluation rises significantly. Notice what is happening here. The problem is not the existence of debt itself. Many stable economies carry large public debts for decades. The real issue is the credibility of the system managing that debt. And that leads to the third phrase that professionals in finance pay very close attention to: loss of market confidence. Financial systems depend heavily on trust. Investors buy government bonds because they believe those bonds will retain value over time. They hold a currency because they trust that its purchasing power will remain reasonably stable. But when markets begin to suspect that a government may rely too heavily on money creation, that confidence can weaken very quickly. Analysts often summarize the risk in a single sentence. The biggest danger is not the debt level itself. The biggest danger is a loss of market confidence. Once confidence begins to fade, several things can happen almost simultaneously. Bond investors demand higher yields to compensate for inflation risk. International capital flows towards safer currencies. Exchange rates begin to move. Borrowing costs increase across the entire economy. Ironically, the attempt to solve a debt problem by printing money can make the cost of borrowing even higher. That is why most modern economies try to maintain a clear separation between fiscal policy and monetary policy. Governments decide how much to spend and borrow. Central banks focus on maintaining price stability and preserving trust in the currency. Because once that trust is damaged, rebuilding it can take many years. I remember a conversation during a strategy meeting where a young analyst raised exactly this question. He looked at a chart showing the size of government debt and asked, almost casually, if the central bank can create money, why does the government not just print what it needs and pay everything off? One of the senior managers leaned back in his chair for a moment before answering. In theory, they could, he said, but that would mean monetizing the debt. He pointed to the bond market data on the screen and continued. The moment investors believe that policy is moving in that direction, you risk currency devaluation. Then he added the line that everyone in the room understood immediately. And once you trigger a loss of market confidence, borrowing becomes far more expensive than before. The point was clear. Government debt is not only a financial calculation, it is a question of credibility. A country can always create more money, but it cannot create trust with a printing press. And that is the deeper reason why nations cannot simply print their way out of debt. The real limit is not the ability to produce currency. The real limit is the reaction of markets, investors, and the broader economy. People who work in finance eventually learn that the stability of a currency depends less on how much money exists and more on the discipline of the system behind it. If today's explanation helps you sound more confident the next time someone asks about inflation, debt, or central bank policy, try using one of these phrases in your next conversation. For example, you might say, "The real danger is not the debt level itself, but the potential loss of market confidence." If this helped you sound more confident in your next finance meeting, share it with a colleague who is working on their English too. Subscribe to Learn English Listening for a new lesson with Mr. Wason every week.